Welcome to the Hyperfast Podcast. I am so excited to bring back Beth Matthews, who is a very successful human being and team leader in the Buffalo market. And Beth, when you and I were talking kind of offset, one of the things we discovered is we've both been kicked in the teeth over the last year, right?
Yes.
It's been hard. And so I wanted to dig into, for team leaders that are watching this, what kind of share a little bit about your story and when you were seeking alignment, like how that impacted you, how you knew that you need to make some shifts to what you thought your vision was, and kind of walk us through where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Keri, thanks for having me back. And as we were talking off camera, we do have a lot of alignment. And I shared a little bit of my background last time, but I did start in the industry around 2008, 2009, and transitioned away from a pharmaceutical sales career. And that was a career that a lot of people would say is a coveted career. And it is for a lot of reasons. But I just had this feeling in my gut that it wasn't the thing that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so I made some decisions to transition away from that. And then over the last year, as a team lead, I started to get that same feeling. And it's hard. It's hard to start to recognize that, maybe it's me that's changed, maybe it's the people around me that have changed, or maybe it's a combination of the two. And I have a coach who's fantastic. And one of the things that he asked me to do was to go away for a weekend, put my phone down, and truly start to visualize when I was at my happiest, what happiness looks like for me moving forward. And it was a big aha, like that 48 hours of disconnection without having the influence of social media or agents reaching out or really anybody or anything, and really focusing on what was most important to me really helped me make some difficult decisions moving forward.
Wow, that's amazing to take that time. And if you're listening to this and you're feeling conflicted and uncertain about what the future looks like for you, I think your coach gave you fantastic advice, and it's hard to do, but it's critically important.
Yes.
Critically important. So it changed the course of the next few months for you, the next year, and really forever. So share a little bit about the decisions that you came to when you were in isolation. Sounds like
Yes.
you were
When I
on the island.
quarantined myself, it's hard to sit with yourself. And so that was really eye-opening, just the fact that, I'm like most of your listeners, I'm high achiever, I'm always on the go, 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 go. And the realization that sometimes that is a crutch that we use so that we don't have to acknowledge what's really going on. That was a big eye-opener for me. So I've also started doing some breath work practice, which has been really enlightening. And through those things, I started to realize that I was kind of playing the role of myself versus being authentic to myself. And what I mean by that is, as a team lead, I was expected to operate in a certain way. In my opinion, I felt like I needed to be everything to everybody. I needed to attract as many agents as possible, and I needed to offer them as many opportunities as possible. And what I felt was that I was drained. I was just giving so much that I wanted to get back to a place of I'd rather operate on a smaller scale with fewer people where there was a lot of alignment with what we were trying to achieve, rather than dilute myself or spread myself thin. And that came with some difficult decisions. I had a business partner that we, dissolved the partnership, and I've been divorced in marriage and divorced in business. And I can say the divorce in business was harder. And that obviously has an impact on the people in the organization. And they had to make some decisions about what was best for them. And I really needed to take a step back and decide to let them make those choices based off of what was best for them, instead of operating from a place of scarcity where I tried to hold on so tightly. Because at the end of the day, I say to anybody that really comes into my world, I love you and I want to see you win, whatever that looks like for you. And even if it's not the same for me.
Yeah. And that really is having true abundance in how you're setting up the relationship.
Yeah.
So if you're comfortable sharing, what are when you were in that moment of quietness and you were focusing on what alignment looked like for you, what were the things that you felt that you wanted to look for in your life and in your business that would give you that certainty you were moving in the right direction? Because I would assert there's probably people listening to this today that are either in business partnerships or maybe in life partnerships, or that have set up their business in a way where they're just not feeling the same positive energy. And they hear this little voice talking to them and they're not taking time to listen to it. So, what are the things that came through for you when you realized you wanted to be in this place of authenticity with yourself that might be helpful for them?
Yeah. So for me, one of the pieces of guidance that I was given by my coach was to focus on just 3 or 4 key areas of life. If I could narrow the focus to just 3 or 4 things, it would help reduce a lot of the noise. And so that was where I was at mentally. And coming out of that place of, quiet and reflection, I made the decision that the things that I really love to do is, number one, I still love to list and sell homes. And I had moved out of production because, again, I was operating from this place of expectation that as a team lead, I shouldn't be producing as much. I should be, doing other things, managing the business, work on your business, not in your business. But I really love that piece of it. And so I made the decision to move back into production. And I consider myself a practicing team lead. And I find that for me, it helps me better guide and navigate the agents on my team because I'm in the trenches with them. I'm doing all the same things that I'm teaching them to do. And that felt more authentic to me. So that was number one. Number two, I love to train and develop agents. And I pour a lot of myself into that piece because I see the potential and I want people to win. But what I realized in doing that is I was enabling some behaviors that really weren't setting up the agents for success. And so there came a discovery period of what are going to be the standards to have access to the training and development and guidance that I have and that I'm willing to offer and pour into. And then number 3 was my health and well-being. I had, coming off of, a couple of years of the pandemic and quarantines and just not being as physically active as I was previously and not eating as well. I was like, if I'm working so hard, I want to be able to truly live a long and meaningful life to enjoy it. And then the 4th piece was my family. I have a daughter who's a freshman in college. And I also have a daughter who's a freshman in high school. And I actually have 5 bonus boys. So I have all of these young adults.
Oh, you didn't share that part. That's amazing.
Yeah. And once they get to high school, and so many people have said this, but it's like you blink and it goes so fast. And I was so career driven early in my daughter's lives that I do feel a little bit of pull to be very present for them during their teenage years, which candidly in this day and age, they probably need me more now than they needed me as infants and toddlers.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that with so many of my friends that are like, oh, Keri, because I have 4 that are 8 and under. And they're like, it gets easier. And I'm thinking, no, you're dealing with complex challenges. Like if they make a mistake, all of a sudden they're like marrying the wrong person at a certain point in their journey, right?
Yes.
The mistakes have more significant impact. So I so associate with that. Yeah. Wow. I'm really impressed with you for listening to your intuition. And one of the things that you talked about is having standards. So can you share with us, for someone joining your world, what are the things that you tell them? Here are the standards. And for team leaders, take notes. Because I think a lot of team leaders are so afraid to have standards. And because they're afraid to have standards, their team is just like running amok.
Yes. Yeah. And I found that with myself and my team previously. I would joke and say, I started off driving the bus and saying, this is how we're going to do things. And then over time, all of a sudden, I wasn't even on the bus. I was being dragged behind the bus trying to go, what is happening? So I did have to climb back through and get in the driver's seat and say, what does it take to be in my world? And this is professionally or personally, but I look for people that operate at a really high level in whatever they're doing in their world. That's something that's really important to me, and I think I bring that to the table. And so being in the right rooms is so important, whether you're the one that's, the face of things or you're bringing people in, it doesn't matter. I want to look around the table or look around the room and be like, yes, I'm in complete alignment with the people that are here. So we did start with quantifying certain things, right? Because at the end of the day, sales is math. Math is the path, as they say. So,
Yep.
and it doesn't matter whether you're in real estate or any type of sales, but the standard to be here is day one, they have to walk in with at least 200 people in their database. And that needs to be name, address, and some form of communication. And it's interesting how many people be like, I don't think I know 200 people. But then when you start to walk them through their social media accounts, their graduating class, former coworkers, colleagues, et cetera, they're like, okay, I do. Number two is they have to be willing to meet more people on purpose, otherwise known as prospecting. And we look for people to have 100 conversations a week. And then we want our agents to do at least one open house a week. The ideal is two, but we're in a very seasonal market in Buffalo, so those opportunities aren't always available. And from there, we then will assign them a mentor who's one of our seasoned agents who can give them some more real life in the field guidance. And they get access to me on a weekly basis where I'm helping them unpack their business, going through some script and role play, make sure their pipeline is clean, and really help them steer the ship towards success. And I think that could translate across any industry. Keri, one of the things I said to you is I train sales professionals that want to specialize in real estate.
Ooh, I love that. That spin is also like, are you a sales leader? Are you someone who's willing to put in the effort to be successful? So how are you attracting the agents that go, yes, those standards are in alignment with what I want?
So our social media has become our social proof, and it's interesting, and it felt a bit counterintuitive that we're attracting more of those people as we're freeing up other people for their future. And what I mean by that is as I'm narrowing the population of my organization based off of these standards and really holding people to those standards, it's not the right fit for everybody. And that's okay. It doesn't make them a bad person. We're just not in alignment, and it would not be serving me or them to try to keep them in a place that they're not the right fit. So what I'm finding is as we get more clear and more focused on those values and on those standards, it's naturally attracting more people that are operating that way.
I love it. Amazing. So if you were talking to a team leader out there who's in this place of turmoil, what's one piece of advice you would give them before we end today?
Take the time and the space to make sure that everything you're doing is still in alignment with who you are as your authentic self. Because I do think that sometimes it's a bit of a thankless job, and we've talked about getting kicked in the teeth, but naturally team leaders generally are givers, and they will give and give and give. And we have a tendency to see the best in people and fall in love with potential. But at the end of the day, you can't want it for somebody more than they want it for themselves. So just make sure that you're pouring into yourself as much as you're pouring into other people.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Beth, for being with us today. For our Hyperfast audience, if they want to connect with you, how do they find you on social?
I'm at Beth by a Billion on Instagram, and then you can find all of my contact information from the link in the bio there.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time.